All right. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get this call started off here just in a few more seconds. All right. Greetings, everyone. This is Patrick Oborn, co-founder of Telarus. I'm here with you on the Tuesday call for June 4th, 2019. I know this is not the typical voice you're used to. The voice of Telarus is giving his voice a much needed vacation this week. So congratulations to Doug Miller and for all that he does for us on these calls. We appreciate him. For those of you who don't know him, this is not his full-time job. He is not the full-time MC for Telarus. He is actually a project manager in our amazing award-winning project management group, the group that helps you take your revenue from contract signed to actually billing revenue. So we appreciate all he does. I am his substitute for today. I feel like a substitute teacher in school. This is cool. We're going to go ahead and just get kicked off right away. First off, we would like to thank all of our partners and suppliers who joined us yesterday in Columbus, Ohio for our Telarus Golf Championship at the beautiful Albany Country Club. It was a fantastic day on the links. There were contest holes with high-end prizes. There were sponsored holes. There was incredible swag, lunch, and a lot of fun was had by all. We'll be hosting more of these golf championships soon. We hope you and your clients will join us. If you would like to know where our golf is going to be, simply go to telarus.com/events. On today's call, we are going to be welcoming Consolidated Communications. You may know them, the CCI, discussing WAN challenges for today's customers. We'll be discussing SD-WAN basics, including the flexibility and scalability provided by them, and the benefits that your clients can realize from an SD-WAN solution. And that's not all. We're going to learn the specific differentiators that set CCI apart in the SD-WAN space. So please hang on. We're going to get to that just in a moment. But first, we have just a few housekeeping items. On last week's Tuesday call, we welcomed Mettel and we discussed IoT and mobility solutions specifically. Mettel provides forward-thinking control over all of your clients' most mobile devices. Mettel solutions reduce their IT burden, lower their costs. Mettel also provides the world's strongest, most reliable signal for intelligent devices added to company infrastructures to track product and assets. So Mettel IoT Mobility Solutions, that presentation, as always, is recorded and uploaded into your Telarus back office. Today, we also invite you to log in to the video and live chat platform. So as we're talking today, you can go ahead and post your comments. You'll also be able to see all of today's valuable information on a marvelous slideshow that our marketing team has put together. So you can't just hear me, you can also watch what we're talking about there. And I don't know if you can believe this, but we're well into the second quarter. We're almost halfway done for the year. And you know what that means? That means the President's Club qualifications for Puerto Vallarta are getting hot and heavy right now. So there's a ton of ways to qualify. There's really two ways. You can get $100,000 in combined MRR with Telarus. That means you can piecemeal this thing together into one lump solid $100K book of business, or you could sell one of the different things that you can see on your screen here. There are a few things that stick out to me personally about this year's buffet of ways to qualify for President's Club. Number one, you have Office Depot on here. So, right, you can qualify for President's Club with managed IT services. You can qualify with Warner Telecom. That's telecom expense management. You can qualify with Sharpen Contact Center. You can qualify with CloudGenix and Big Leaf, which are pure play SD-WAN providers. You can qualify with IGI. That's cybersecurity. You can qualify with Telstra. That's international. And wow, you can basically throw a rock at a UCaaS provider and hit one. The ones that stick out to me are 8x8 at $30,000. And then you go to AirSpring at $21,000. Then you go to Fusion at 20. Call One at 20. CBTS at 20. Then you go down even further. Jive at 17. No, it gets better. Mitel at 15. Nextiva at 15. And taking home the prize for me, Broad Voice at 10 grand. So a $10,000 Broad Voice deal, a $15,000 Mitel deal or Nextiva deal gets you to Puerto Vallarta with me, with Adam, with Richard, with our families. We would love, love, love to see you. And the cool thing about our President's Club is that all of these awards stack. So if you get 100 grand, boom, you're in. And if you get 10 grand in Broad Voice, boom, you're in for another one. You get 15 grand in Mitel, boom, you're in another one. That means you have 3 trips. That means 6 people from your company are going. We had several people this year in Cuba with us that basically brought their whole entire company because they hit so many spots. So they didn't even have to provide their sales reps at President's Club. They just took everyone to Cuba with us. It was absolutely amazing. Next, we've got our calendar of local and regional events are pretty crazy. I was on our website just yesterday kind of looking up these events in preparation for this call, and I was just overwhelmed with the number of places we go. But we go there because you matter to us. Having training in your backyard matters to us. So here's what we've got planned for this week. This Thursday, June 6th, in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Foxborough, for those of you in the New England area, know that that's kind of code speak for the New England Patriots. Foxborough is basically the home of the New England Patriots. Between 11 and 1, Telarus is hosting our security and cloud boot camp with Thrive Networks. It's going to be right there at Thrive's headquarters in Foxborough. It's the discussion you've wanted to have to become the trusted expert on cloud and security that your clients need. This expert presentation is hosted by Telarus engineer extraordinaire, Mr. Ladd Wimmer of New Jersey, along with Thrive VP of Solutions Architecture, Chris Moore. So Ladd and Chris are going to be there, again, talking for 2 hours specifically about cybersecurity. Separately, we've got contact center boot camps that have a week-long tour plan. So our contact center folks are going to be on the street this week. Each of these boot camp events features expert presentations by our suppliers. It's 4 hours of great food and deep dive training on contact center, the opportunity, the technology, the solutions, and the amazing support these suppliers offer as you bring your contact center solutions to your customers. Here's the schedule. Today, Tuesday, June 4th, contact center boot camps, kick off in Austin, Texas, from noon to 4 at Fleming's Prime Steakhouse. I don't know if you've ever been to Fleming's, but it's pretty good food there, just saying. You'll hear from experts from Genesis, Evolve IP, Sarah Nova, and Smart Action. Thursday, June 6th, the contact center boot camps are in Scottsdale, Arizona at from 10 to 2 at Maggiano's, hosted by TalkDesk, Sharpen, Nice in Contact, and AdTran. Later on Thursday in Houston, we'll be going from noon to 4 at the Season 52 Fresh Grill. You're going to hear from Nice in Contact, 8x8, TalkDesk, and Epic Connections. And then Thursday, June 11th, the contact center tour wraps up out in Raleigh, North Carolina, between 10 and 2 p.m. at the Angus Barn Steakhouse. This is going to be hosted by Nice in Contact, Sharpen, Genesis, and Epic Connections. And I think it's going to be an epic week for all the folks on those contact center teams to roll those out. And the reason why we have so many contact center boot camps is because that's where Telarus sees the big deals coming from. That's where the customer engagement, that's where when we talk about, is your technology, is your infrastructure a utility or is it a competitive weapon? It's either one or the other. If you have an on-prem phone system, it's probably a utility. If you're in the cloud, it's probably a competitive weapon. But many customers out there don't understand how to improve their customer engagement with this technology. So it's really going to open your eyes into what the technology can do, but more importantly, what it can do for your customers in terms of unleashing their potential and improving their customer experience. Oh my gosh, let's get to more training, the Telarus Innovation Conferences. These events are a little different than the boot camps. They're immersive technology training experiences that cover the entire day. So we take you a day out of the office, but we take you through IoT, we take you through contact center, and we take you through security. All of this to expose you to all of the things that people are talking about now so that you can take your business to the next level. You'll cool thing about these things too is they're big prizes. Like we're talking multi-thousand-dollar prizes that are given away, along with $5,000 worth, as a matter of fact. But we've also got kayaks, outdoor movies, projectors and screens, and things like this. So it's pretty fun. So come out and receive knowledge, receive training, and build your business. We've got not one, not two, not three, not even four. We got 5 Telarus Innovation Conferences scheduled in June. First, Thursday, June 13th, San Francisco at Slim's, the Great American Music Hall, followed by Happy Hour, and San Francisco's local music group, the Cotton Pill. So we're kind of upping our game with these conferences. We're upping our game with not only the swag, not only the training, but we're also bringing in professional speakers and even apparently in San Francisco, live music. On June 18th, the Telarus Innovation Conference takes place in Louisville, or as some people call it, Louisville, at the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory, one of my favorite places as a baseball fan to go. June 18th, Yankee Stadium in New York. This, I didn't even need to sell this event. It's freaking Yankee Stadium. But the trick here is you must be registered by June 12th in order to be admitted into the stadium. We have to get a sheet printed out so you can get your wristband. So again, June 18th, Yankee Stadium, register by June 12th. Then you've got June 20th, the Telarus Innovation Conference goes to Arlington, Texas, to AT&T Stadium, otherwise known as Jerry Jones World, followed by a tour of the stadium and then a private concert with Texas country music star Rich O'Toole. I don't know who that is, but I guarantee you our VP of Marketing, Amy Bailey, does. And we finish up the TIC tour on June 25th in Costa Mesa, California, very close to the birthplace of Telarus, at the Center Club of Orange County. Again, there's a happy hour, and then we have a musical performance by Adam Lasher of American Idol. I can guarantee you my wife can tell you who that person is. It's going to be a huge week this week and a huge month at the TICs. You can see, of course, the full event schedule and register online at telarus.com/events. All right. It's that time for our weekly partner sales recognition and our shout outs to our highest performing Telarus partners who put up some top wins during the past week. First off, in third place, we would like to congratulate our friends from Elite Telecom Solutions, Todd Gorins, Darlene Stevens, and their team have done an awesome job diversifying their business. They used to sell a lot of network back in the day, and now they are all about SIP, they're all about UCAS, they're all about contact center, and this win with Quest was an actual security consulting engagement with Quest. So huge a Quest deal for Elite. Congratulations to those guys, and congratulations on a non-traditional sale, which is awesome. The cool thing about this week's third place and second place position leader, which is, of course, Invite Networks, Josh Whiting, Mike Jarman, Steve German, and the entire team there sold a massive CenturyLink deal to a local bank. The Invite Networks team and the Elite Telecom Solutions, those two, I'm just going to give you a little spoiler alert. Those guys are in one or two positions. They're separated by like $1,000, and they're way out there in the lead, doing very well in 2019. So if you guys are listening to this call and you want a whiff of the #1 spot for 2019, those are the two people you're going to have to contend with. So they've been doing just an absolute job. Thank you both for your business. And topping the charts this week, we can congratulate John Berardi, president of True Point Communication Solutions out of the Tampa, Florida region. The funny thing about John is last week we were both at the President's Club trip for Broad Voice down in Costa Rica. And I'm sitting next to him, and I introduced myself because I had never met him in person. And I said, hey, do you use Telarus? And he's like, yeah, I sold a pretty good deal through Five9 for you last week. Didn't you hear about it? And I was like, no, I didn't hear about it. It's because the Tuesday call hadn't announced it yet. So little props to Patrick here for not knowing about this deal. It was so new, and now it's being announced today. So John, just want to congratulate you on a fantastic Five9 deal. Again, the whole reason for those contact center boot camps is so that you guys can get in front of these big deals. You can see that the biggest deal for this week was John's 5-9 contact center deal. So thank you so much, John, the whole team down at TruePoint Communications. We appreciate your business, and congratulations on the top Telarus sale of the week. Now, here's our training calendar. We have a lot of trainings coming up for you guys. We've got Ring Central, which is in an hour, so we better wrap this up so we can get to it. On let's see here. Let's see. We got Ring Central in an hour. We've got Wednesday, tomorrow. We've got 2 trainings. One from Rapid Scale about driving sales with their new monitoring solution, and that looks really exciting. That starts at noon Eastern. And then also tomorrow we've got Mitel's What's New product update. Mitel, of course, is having a contest. You may or may not have heard about it. All expense paid trip to London to watch the Yankees and Red Sox play. So kind of cool stuff going on at Mitel. And then Consolidated CCI, the company that we're talking to today, they have a deep dive training on Thursday, and that's at 2 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of great things going on the training calendar. And these, of course, are not in-person trainings like we just talked about. These are web and virtual trainings that you can attend at your leisure. Next, if you want to learn about the whole entire training suite, again, your Telarus partner back office at agent.telarus.com has a list of all of them. We also have a list of spiffs in that back office where we pass on the newest and best spiffs provided from our suppliers. Some of the ones we want to point out this week, we've got Vonage, which is running a 4X. We've got Nextiva, also running a 4X. Then we have Ring Central that's driving a 2X on 1 year, 4X on a 2-year, and a 6X on a 3-year deal. 6X, we're seeing a lot of 6Xs in the second and third quarters this year, ladies and gentlemen. I've been in this business 17 years, so this isn't a plug, this isn't a commercial, this is just a statement from your good friend Patrick. 6X is a lot of money, and 6X seems to be thrown around a lot by these UCaaS providers. And then when you combine the fact that folks like Ring Central will actually do channel harmony with you, that means they'll pay you 6X, and their direct sales reps will help you close these deals at no commission hit. It's insane money. I just congratulate all of you for being in this industry at the time when it's like 1999. For those of you who lived through the 1999 internet thing, this is exactly what it felt like. Money is everywhere. But again, the people that are making the money are the people that are helping their customers recognize that digital infrastructure can be a competitive weapon to steal market share from competition, not a utility. The agents that can do that, the agents that attend the boot camps, that invest in their training, the ones that can help their customers understand the competitive nature of this business and how you can take customers by providing better customer experience using technology, are going to be the winners of this whole sweepstakes. So that concludes our housekeeping items. Now we're going to get to the nuts and bolts today. Today, our featured presentation, and on today's call, is Consolidated Communications, and we're going to be discussing WAN challenges for today's customers. We'll be discussing the basics of flexibility. We're going to talk about scalability. We're going to talk about the benefits that your clients can realize from an SD-WAN solution, and we're going to learn the specific differentiators that set CCI apart. We've got Grant Shelnut, CCI Senior Sales Engineer, on the phone with us today. He's out of the South region, I believe. Grant, welcome to the Telarus Tuesday call, my friend.
Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So if you could, go ahead and take the mic and take us through a little bit about CCI Consolidated. Just in preparation for this call, I was just looking you guys up on Wikipedia, and I noticed that you guys have been around since like 1894. I think like 1 year after the first phone call was made, you guys like set up shop. So I don't know if there's anyone with more experience in this entire world than Consolidated when it comes to this industry and how to make consistent improvements. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your products, and we'll go ahead and do a Q&A here at the end of your presentation.
Great. So yeah, as you said, Consolidated's been around for about 125 or so years now. If we can go to the next slide on the presentation, we've got about 4,100 employees. with an average of 16 years in the industry. Personally, I have about 20 years in the industry, mostly on the engineering side. We're in 24 states nationwide, with the ninth largest fiber provider in the country with about 35,000 route miles. And we're really invested in our local communities. So 2 million in charitable contributions in 2016, and that was the latest numbers that I had for this presentation. But we're really invested in our communities. We have been around for a while, and we do have a very vetted staff. So we can go to the next slide, please. So some of the challenges with the WAN. So we're talking about WAN challenges today. So some of the challenges that we have is expensive bandwidth. So if you think dedicated circuits, MPLS for multiple locations, switched Ethernet, those are expensive circuits, and a lot of times they're a one-trick pony, meaning that switched Ethernet, if you're talking about a point-to-point or a WAN, that's all it can do. You can't layer additional services on top of that. You have to have additional connections. It's complex as far as your branches are complex. You're talking about distributed offices. You're talking about, a second. Somebody said we had scratchy. I hope this makes it better. We've got some with the advent of applications and more complex branch deployments, and then rigid architectures. So traditional WAN designs are optimized for backhaul. So if we can kind of go through some of the animation here. So with SD-WAN, the way that we can resolve some of these is we're talking about more inexpensive bandwidth, meaning that depending on what your end user is trying to accomplish, lots of times we can utilize less expensive internet bandwidth to achieve some of the same things, as well as some network resiliency. We can use some very inexpensive bandwidth, such as high-speed internet, meaning DSL or cable modems. Reliability and performance. So MPLS and broadband internet, they still have their places in WANs. So when we talk about WANs today, it's still a very case by case. What are you trying to achieve? More and more customers are trying to reach out to cloud services. So whether or not your end users think they're using the cloud, chances are they are. Whether it's CRM, whether it's Office 365, whether it's Microsoft Azure or AWS, cloud services or software as a service, they're very prevalent today. And then the insertion of services, the way we resolve that is more seamless as we come into the WAN and our implementation strategies. So let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so this is just kind of a fun thing. I know we have a lot of people on the phone. It may not be we may not be able to ask for feedback here, but truth or myth, I can get 2 substandard internet connections with SD-WAN, and that's false. You need to have at least one good connection for different kind of applications. We need to make sure that we can do some of the things that we'd like. Next question. A lot of times SD-WAN was looked at as an MPLS killer. So do I need MPLS? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what your customer is actually trying to achieve. Some things still need to remain private, or voice services need that actual guaranteed QoS, while other applications not so much. Next one, I only need one good internet connection to use SD-WAN. Go ahead and go, and that is true. We only need one good internet connection. We'll see here in a minute. SD-WAN is only for failover. Go ahead and go to, there you go. It's false. So failover is one of the benefits of SD-WAN, but as we'll show you, we can also do things like application layer QoS. We can do multiple site connectivity. So SD-WAN is much more mature than just failover. I can bond connections together. Go next, please. And that is true. So now we can take multiple connections, and depending on what we're doing, we can even aggregate bandwidth, meaning that we can take two, for instance, 10 meg symmetrical internet connections through diverse carriers, and we can aggregate that bandwidth. So now you have a 20 by 20 throughput. So not only do you have more bandwidth, but you've also got a failover strategy in place as well. You need to have multiple sites to use SD-WAN. That's false. So kind of jokingly here with, um, so jokingly within sales engineering at Consolidated, we started calling a single site as SD-WAN. So we have some rural customers that were, one example anyways, from rural customers that were starving for bandwidth. They were only able to get some DSL service, so a 3x1 or a 10x2. We were able to get multiple DSL connections and aggregate those together to get them more throughput. So you don't only have to have multiple sites to utilize SD-WAN. And I can only have two connections with SD-WAN. That is also, if you go to the next slide or the next animation, please, that one's also false. In my demo environment, I have a fiber internet connection. I can have a SD-WAN, or I'm sorry, fiber internet connection, a high-speed internet connection, and I've also got LTE failover. So, and I can have more than that, but just know that you can have more than two connections. So let's go to the next slide, please. So Consolidated has partnered with VeloCloud. They're now part of VMware. So VeloCloud does SD-WAN. They do it very well. There are three components. There's the edge, which is the VeloCloud Edge, or the VCE. That is it's the actual router on site. So this is the premise-based piece of equipment. Then there's the VeloCloud Gateway. So this accesses features and the VeloCloud platform. It's also a way that we can guarantee voice quality of service on our network. And then there's the orchestrator. That's the VeloCloud orchestrator. That's your management. That's visibility to bandwidth utilization, link status, those sorts of things. And think of that as the controller. So again, on site, you'll have the edge device or the VCE. The application is the orchestrator, and the connection to the cloud is actually the gateway. You can go to the next slide, please. So just some basics. So we talked about the edge and the orchestrator and the gateways. So we're talking about full lifecycle management as far as on the orchestrator, zero touch deployment management. We can build policies. So on the orchestrator, that's where we can build things like application QoS. We'll go over that here in a bit. On the edge, this is your edge router. So this is the managed router. Route determination, we can do things like DHCP for your customer's network, complex routing like BGP. It also has policies, business policies, capable of high availability. So if you have a customer that has a data center that requires high availability for one reason or another, multiple connections, multiple devices within their strategy, we can accommodate that. And then there's the gateway. So this is where our internet backhaul, this is where all of our security insertion is. And these gateways sit on the consolidated network. So when we first deployed SD-WAN, we were utilizing public VeloCloud gateways. We now have gateways sitting on our network. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is just a real quick example of a design with multiple locations with different types of connectivity. So each of these sites, as you can see, has an MPLS connection. The top two have also an Ethernet internet connection. So you've got two circuits here that have service level agreement, whether they're the same carrier, whether they're multiple carriers. And then that third site, this may be more of a branch office that has minimal staff. They've got an MPLS connection, but then they've also got a third-party broadband connection for that second connection. So you'll see here in the middle, the site number 2, it says VeloCloud DMPO. This is dynamic multipath optimization. This is intelligence within um, the VeloCloud service that if you are not steering certain types of traffic to prefer one or the other of your uplink circuits. So you may tell voice to prefer MPLS uh, or your CRM to prefer your internet. If you're just letting the intelligence of VeloCloud decide, that's what's called DMPO. What it does is it intelligently decides the best path for a given traffic type, so it can truly load balance. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here's some benefits. Simple management and visibility via the orchestrator. So every customer will have access to the orchestrator. It allows them to see uplinks, the performance of those links, timestamps, etc. Fast office moves or ads. So this is extremely scalable. Locations, after they get through the implementation, the contract and implementation phases, the actual installation and turn up takes just a few minutes. It's not very long at all. Again, flexible and scalable. We can make changes as we need to, as requested, and extremely scalable from one location. And then we've had a 75 location, so very, very scalable. So QoS per application. We'll talk about this, I think, in another slide after this one. But this is where I can actually prefer certain applications over others on my SD-WAN network. So if voice traffic, typically that gets a real time or more precedence over other types of traffic within your network. Let's say your customer, they're not so concerned about voice, but they're concerned about, they're an architecture firm. They're concerned about preferring the application for that they use for their drawings. So per application, I can give that a higher priority than say web traffic on my network, things like that. Security is all with IPsec tunnels, so that's encrypted tunnels. Performance, again, not only bandwidth aggregation, but also resiliency. There's that dynamic multipath optimization that we touched on, where we can let the intelligence of the platform decide the best path for us, and then cost efficiency. So now we're utilizing less expensive bandwidth to accomplish the same goals. So it makes us more efficient, and it makes us more economical. Let's go to the next slide, please. There we go. So one of the things about flexible and scalable, again, we can ingest multiple types of connectivity, whether that's a T1, whether it's Ethernet, whether it's a cable modem, high-speed internet, cable modem, DSL, or the event of like a fiber to the home type of service. LTE, and then when 5E really starts taking off, 5E will be another circuit type that we can aggregate. And we can do all of these again. These are all getting to applications and services, right? Private cloud, shared public cloud, different services, etc. Let's go to the next slide, please. So again, just a return on investment. So this was the 75 site. When you're talking about an MPLS network for 75 locations, that's easily a 9-month project. Between getting circuits, making sure that the network is set up, and then a migration plan for 75 locations, where it went down to a week with SD-WAN, because it can utilize existing circuits, and it's a much quicker deployment model. You can save up, this particular one saved up to $1.5 million in capital by eliminating firewalls and zero touch operations and 20% off of WAN costs. So that's less expensive circuits. And then we have global policies. What that means is when you bring a new location on into a multiple location WAN, you can set the same policies for each location, so that when you bring that location up, it's a global policy. It gets rid of the human error component of, say, setting up a new router with routing tables and the policies, et cetera, within a firewall. It's all global. It pulls down from that orchestrator. We go to the next slide, please. So again, value prop, 100 times faster installs on average, 3 times less money, and 10 times faster speed, because we can do things like aggregate bandwidth, load balance, and manage that failover for you. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So everybody has seen Gartner. This is the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So VeloCloud is up in the upper right-hand quadrant. So they are a leader in SD-WAN. Right behind them is Versa and Viptela, which is Cisco. VeloCloud knows what they're doing. They've been in SD-WAN, and they are definitely a leader. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So some of the verticals that we've seen a lot of success in are government, financial, and medical. So with the different compliance and resiliency that these types of verticals require, SD-WAN has been part of almost every conversation with our customers in those verticals. Hospitality. So lots of people, when you talk about hospitality, they just think immediately of hotels. Think about hotels, think about retirement communities, assisted living. So that kind of, a little bleed over between hospitality and medical. So there's video, voice, guest Wi-Fi, those sorts of things that hospitality likes. And then retail. So retail, a lot of times they're working on a limited budget, but they have the need for bandwidth. And they also have a need for resiliency. If you've ever been to a store where all of a sudden their credit card machine is down because of their connectivity, SD-WAN can help solve some of those kind of concerns with being able to take in multiple connections from multiple carriers and even an LTE. We can go to the next slide, please. So what makes CCI different? We have light bulbs now. So again, CCI, we partnered with an SD-WAN leader, so that's VeloCloud. So we have a detailed vetting process with our partnerships. So not only VeloCloud for our SD-WAN, but for our managed security platform, we've partnered with Palo Alto. Our voice platform, we partnered with Broadsoft and Polycom and Yealink. So we have a very detailed partner vetting process, and we only partner with best in the industry. So our deployment practices and our enhanced security are I would put them up against anybody else's. After a pre-sales engineer works with you on the consolidated side, so myself, post-sale, we actually go to a design engineer, and we'll see that kind of down here a little bit, where we have a post-sale engineer that goes through with your customer very detailed network particulars, so that we make sure that the onboarding is as seamless as possible. We have tiered service offerings, as well as high availability and some integrated security options. We have prep, plan, and design. That's all part of the process. There's no additional charges for that. Third-party internet can be procured through CCI. So either your customer has the need for a third-party internet connection, or they have one today, but they don't want to juggle multiple invoices. CCI can take that on for them. We can procure that internet connection from that third party and bill it on our paper, and we'd handle all of the support and everything for that. If there's an issue, they would just contact RNOC instead of trying to manage multiple vendors there. Our onboarding with the design engineer we went over, and then our project management group. So your customer will get a dedicated IPM or an implementation project manager, that will be with them throughout the process. Go to the next slide, please. So some of the things that Consolidated offers is data networking, so it's high availability. We have network strength, scalable bandwidth. We have voice services, so anything from PRI, SIP trunks, all the way up to unified communications. So our cloud services, we have a compute offering, which is an infrastructure as a service. We have a disaster recovery as a service, all the way to backup as a service, endpoint security, and mobile device management. So managed and hosted. We can also help with remote hands, for instance, in a data center. And then there's security services. So we have a partnership again with Palo Alto, where we can do a cloud-based firewall, on-premise firewall, true DDoS mitigation, and that's scrubbing at the carrier as opposed to an on-site premise piece of equipment. When we go over our security, we can go over that a bit more. And then also our service level, our security lifecycle review is something new. We have a customer that likes the way our Palo Alto security looks, sounds, feels, but they're not quite sure. They're on the fence. As a closer, we can bring in, hey, let's do a security lifecycle review. We'll actually put an appliance on site and help the customer identify potential holes in their network, and then how we can help remediate. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Oh, that's it. And then additional resource, Julie Babaraki. She is our national partner manager. I think she's lurking on the call perhaps somewhere, but Julie is also an additional resource for you.
Well, Grant, thank you so much. That was an outstanding presentation. We appreciate you being with us here. Just a few follow-up questions that we've got from our guests and also just for me personally. That was a really good presentation on SD-WAN. What I really liked was the truth or myth slide where it talked about all the different things it can and can't do. Just wanted to ask a little bit about I don't need MPLS anymore. I've seen, especially recently, we've seen a lot of MPLSs coming out. When I think it was the early adoption of MPLS or SD-WAN, it was like, if you like your healthcare, you can keep your healthcare. It's like, if you like your MPLS, you can keep your MPLS. And a lot of people did, and they were using SD-WAN really to prioritize traffic for the non-critical elements. But I'm seeing more and more critical elements going over SD-WAN, which really means you kind of can pull out that MPLS. And in fact, I've just 2 days ago was on the phone with a customer helping an agent who had a client with SD-WAN questions, and they had physical point-to-points. I mean, MPLS wasn't enough. They had physical T1 point-to-points, and I was just like, rip them out, rip them out, rip them out, rip them out. Well, we want a private connection back to our location in Portland. I don't care. Just put SD-WAN on both sides, and you'll get your VPN connection back and forth, and you'll have a gig of internet instead of 1.5 meg. And so I'm just seeing people rip MPLS out like it's nothing. It was like, we're reluctant to kind of rip it out at first. We want to keep it because we know it works, everything else. But man, SD-WAN's taken over, in my opinion. What are you seeing?
So yeah, SD-WAN it for, I would say, the lion's share of customers. I think that's pretty accurate. Between the forward error correction and some of the other things built that the SD-WAN can offer, as far as voice quality and things along those lines. When when SD-WAN came, really started coming out, people were like, oh my God, this is an MPLS killer. This is fantastic. Well, what we did find is that certain industries and certain customers in particular, specifically government and medical, there are some types of traffic that they wanted to make sure, an IPsec tunnel across an internet connection that is secure, but it's still got that public facing component to it. So for electronic medical records, government, some financial, they want to keep some level of a private connection, whether that's switched Ethernet or MPLS, where it never hits an outside interface. So, and
so
then that's where we can take that.
So it's not about technically getting the data where it needs to go. It's more just about politics, kind of.
Correct.
And governance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's where we can take, for instance, that electronic medical record traffic, and we can actually steer it. Say, okay, I'm taking in an internet connection and an MPLS connection. but my electronic medical records, this application, I'm going to tell it to prefer the MPLS connection if it's available, so I can actually link steer that traffic.
Yeah, and another thing that was like the killer app for this customer that we were talking about SD-WAN with was application-based routing, meaning they do a lot of research on Google.com. And for those of you who've used Google, you hit it enough, it's going to start blocking your traffic. There's only so many times you can access Google per day per IP address before it starts giving you crazy captchas and a bunch of other stuff. So what they would do is they wanted to route all their Google traffic through a proxy server that they had set up with IP randomization and everything else. And they're like, well, we need a point-to-point to do that. I go, no. If you put SD-WAN here, you can route all of your other traffic straight out to the internet, but you can peel off your Google.com, your traffic headed to Google to go the specific direction. And they were like blown away, didn't know we could do that. But it's just really cool how it's application-based routing and not static-based routing, meaning if you're going, all traffic needs to go to this one, hub, and then it goes to the internet through a cloud-based firewall. So that was really cool to see. I don't know if you guys are seeing more and more as people kind of understand what it can do, how they're actually using it to application or optimize applications and not just static routes.
Absolutely, that's perfect.
And
Can I have you help me out with my next presentation?
No. Well, this is like real life stuff. This isn't stuff that I read in a book. This is
absolutely.
Conversations with an IT director, right? And his last concern is, holy crap, I just spent $50,000 on Meraki's. And we basically convinced him I'm like, to get all the benefits of SD-WAN, you kind of have to rip out that firewall. When you have an SD-WAN and a firewall working in conjunction with each other, you lose like real, like in-call failover, for example. That takes 10 seconds on a Meraki. Your 10 seconds, your call's dead. If you do it on an SD-WAN device through Velo, it's real time. It's like less than half a second, and the customer doesn't even know that there was some type of failover event that happened. And then you also throw in the unified threat management, all the other things that the Velo can do, and you don't need your Meraki's anymore. And I don't mean to be like a Cisco hater, but when you get into real life, like real in-depth SD-WAN, you can kill all those firewalls. You can kill them off. And so I literally spent the last 2 days on Google looking for websites that will take back refurbished Meraki gear. Because he's like, what am I going to do? I go, sell it and get your money back, or sell it and get half your money back. But don't let the fact that you've spent money on Meraki recently keep you from going the way that the technology future is headed. And that's allowing your SD-WAN to do everything that it's capable of and not tying its hands and letting it sit on top of a firewall, which in all regards is inferior to the SD-WAN now. So anyhow, just a funny little, firewall SD-WAN, snippet there.
No, I think that's perfect. That's great. Anytime I can get feedbacks like that, that's great.
No, yeah, so that's great. Lastly, we had a question from an agent that wanted to just expand a little bit on your cloud services. I don't know if CCI is known necessarily as like to be a rapid scale or a rack space, for example, in the managed cloud world. But if you could just tell us a little bit about your managed cloud, like, what is it? Is it like, virtual servers? Is it backup and disaster recovery? Is it desktop as a service? What kind of stuff is in your cloud services portfolio?
Sure. So we have, as most carriers, we have a unified communications platform, and it's more than just phones on a desk. It is CRM integration, it's intelligent agent, it's contact center. It's a really robust unified communications platform. It's chat, mobile applications, things along those lines. We also have a managed cloud Wi-Fi. So that is that is via Meraki. We partnered with Meraki on that. So that's where instead of you having the relationship with Meraki or now Cisco and purchasing the gear on your own, it's more of a you deal with the carrier on that. We take care of all the licensing. You have access to the controller, so you can set your policies, or you can call us and say, hey, I need help with this. So there's that. Cloud Secure, so that's our partnership with Palo Alto. So we can offer a cloud-based firewall for multiple locations. Now you can have multiple locations on an SD-WAN network utilizing a single firewall instance. so you don't have your multiple location customers dependent on one or two main locations, for instance, for internet ingress and egress. You can now utilize SD-WAN or an MPLS network for cloud security. Cloud compute. So this is your infrastructure as a service. So this is your servers in the cloud. So this is a little bit different than AWS and Azure, for instance. Those are fantastic for DevOps and things along those lines, stuff that you don't touch very often because those are transactional type services a lot of times. Every time you touch the data, every time it changes, you get dinged. You know, it's a charge. Also, getting your information out of that is very difficult. So with our infrastructure as a service, our cloud compute offering, it's more of a production environment. So up front, it looks more expensive. You're like, oh wow, that's expensive, but it's predictable. It's the same amount every single month for these resources. This is what you got. You don't have to worry about it changing every month. It's predictable. Disaster recovery as a service. So this is full. We back up applications. We back up, we set the operating system. We back up all of your data so that if you declare a disaster, we can reroute DNS, spin up those servers in the cloud, and now your business is running in our environment while you rebuild your local network. So it is full business continuity disaster recovery.
What partners do you guys have for,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
For disaster recovery? Who's your main technology partner?
Flexential. They used to be called Peak 10. You might know them better as Peak 10.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking Veeam or whoever or NetApp or.
Yep. Yeah, they use Veeam. So.
Okay, awesome. So you got Veeam. I heard you earlier in your presentation mention Palo Alto, which is good because we definitely see requests coming specifically for Palo Alto, both for new and also to take over existing environments to help us manage those. So that's really good to know. And then your Velo Cloud on your SD-WAN side. I mean, you guys are stacked. I mean, I learned a ton today. Let me just check the question queue for one last time before we let you go.
Okay.
And looks like we're all clear. Any last thoughts, Grant, for our partner community and how we should engage with Consolidated? And I mean, for me sitting here, I can't really think of anything you guys don't do. Can you just tell us one thing you don't do? Do you do cellular? You probably do cellular backup through. Go ahead.
We do cellular backup, LTE backup for SD-WAN and MPLS. But we don't do cell phones. Exactly. It's via Cradlepoint. We leverage Cradlepoint. Okay,
fantastic. Mission accomplished. We found something you don't do. No, Grant, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate having you, I guess, as a guest on the call. You're welcome back to the Telarus call anytime you want. And with that, we're going to go ahead and dismiss everyone and give you a little bit part of your day back. Thank you so much for spending your day with us and your hour with us. And Grant, thank you so much for coming on the call and talking to us today, buddy. We really appreciated it and enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.